In the bantamweight division at UFC Nashville, you got Kyler Phillips coming in at 10-2, taking on Raoni Barcelos, who comes in at 17-4. Man, and this is going to be a ridiculous fight. Phillips 1 inch taller at 5'8". He's 28 years old. Barcelos getting up there a little bit at 36. Kyler Phillips has a 5-inch reach advantage. Both guys land about 5.5 significant strikes per minute. Phillips lands a takedown per round. Barcelos like a takedown every other round. So one stat that'll be important here is takedown defense. Kyler Phillips right at 70%. Raoni Barcelos 93%. So that makes things very interesting because the one area that Phillips has an advantage, Raoni Barcelos defends the takedowns really well. Now Phillips beat Marcelo Rojo by submission in his last fight, lost to Raleigh Pava by majority decision, and beat others like Song Yadong and Cameron Else. So he's only lost one fight in his last several fights. Now Barcelos coming off the loss to Umar Nurmagomedov by KO, but he did beat Trevin Jones by decision and lost to Victor Henry by decision and Timur Valiev by decision. Timur Valiev, a guy that was booted from the UFC fighting in The Ultimate Fighter. So despite the great takedown defense, Barcelos has struggled to pick up wins in 3 of his last 4 fights. So he came into the UFC at one point in time with a great record, ran off 5 in a row against like Khalid Taha, Saeed Nurmagomedov, but since then has lost 3 of the last 4, so that's not good. So because of that and the momentum, I like what Kyler Phillips is doing in his career. You know, he came into the UFC with 1 loss, is 5-1 in the UFC, 5-1 outside of the UFC. He did have that 1 loss outside of the UFC, but seems to have picked it up since entering. I mean, I'm really nervous about Barcelos with the takedown defense and the 17 wins, but because he has struggled lately, I think that's going to be a factor in this fight. I think Barcelos is probably a little bit better than Kyler Phillips, honestly, but when you factor in, you know, the direction that these two are headed, I got to go with Kyler Phillips. He's got the momentum, right? But he's going to have to land some takedowns. If he stays on the feet with Barcelos, Barcelos is going to match up well. The fight's going to be even. But if he can get some takedowns and some control time, that could be the difference in this fight. And it's not going to be easy. But look for Phillips to still try to land him. Whether he can land him or not, we'll see. But I still like him to win this fight, even if it does stay on the feet. He'll outstrike Barcelos to move to 11-2, in my opinion. Bantamweight division, UFC Nashville.